Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Friday Film Show. As always, I'm your host David O'Sullivan, and this is my weekly movie show in which I cover everything that's going on in the world of movies, or at least the movies that most interest me. With that being said, before I get into the topics on the sidebar here, I first have to mention that if you've got any kind of movie related questions you'd like to ask me, then be sure to leave them in the comments down below, and I'm thinking maybe starting up kind of a question time kind of segment or something, maybe in next week's show. So who knows, if I get enough questions in the comments on this show, then maybe I'll address them on next week's episode. So if you've got any kind of movie related questions, be sure to go ahead and ask them in the comments down below, and who knows, I might answer them in next week's show. With that being said, let's get straight into this now, and first up in the topics on the sidebar here, I have opening this week. And opening in cinemas here in the UK today, we have The Boss Baby, Going in Style, and also Raw. Quite a mixed bag. I'm not that bothered about The Boss Baby, to be honest with you. It's not supposed to be terrible, but I'm not really that bothered about seeing it. Going in Style, I'm kind of mildly interested in. I'm aware of the cast, although I haven't actually seen a trailer for the film, so I don't really know what it's about. Although I don't think it's going to be that much of a kind of surprising, shocking, kind of amazing film, but there's not really much coming out, so I might go and check it out, but I'm not that interested in it, to be honest with you. And also Raw, I'm not a big horror guy, but I've heard nothing but great things about this film. Again, it's a film that I don't know that much about. I think it involves cannibalism or something like that. But it's apparently supposed to be a really great film, so I might check it out, who knows. Raw is also just coming out today here in the UK. And also going on to a quick box office rundown now, and as far as the top 10 films currently playing in the UK box office, at number 10, Moulin Rouge again, Secret Cinema 2017. At number 9 we have Life, still holding in there in the top 10. Coming in at 8 we have Logan. I'm so glad Logan's still holding out in there, in at the number 10 in the top 10. I can't believe Logan is still there, even though it came out like over a month ago now, but it's still there. Free Fire at number 7, I'm really happy about that. I'm glad people are going out and seeing Free Fire, because it is a smaller film, but it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed Free Fire, so I'm glad that's quite high up on the list there. At number 6, Kong, still doing pretty well there. At number 5, rounding at the top 5, we've got Power Rangers. Again, I still have not yet seen Power Rangers. I might go out and see it at some point. I don't know if it's going to be a film that I'm going to like or not. I think it'll either be a film where I'll really not like it, or actually be kind of really pleasantly surprised and really enjoy myself. I think as long as it doesn't take itself too seriously and it's kind of a fun, kind of corny, cheesy movie, I think I'll like it. From what I've heard though, that actually the stuff without the Power Rangers is the best thing about the film, the stuff with the characters. But yeah, I might go out and see that at some point. Again, at number 4 we have Get Out, still holding on in there at number 4. I still have not yet seen Get Out either. I do want to go and check it out at some point. It's still playing in my local independent theatre near me, so I'm still considering going out and checking that out, because again, it's a film I've heard nothing but great things about. Number 3, running at the top 3, we have Smurfs Lost Village. It's not surprising, it's kind of a kids movie, appealing to a kind of a large kind of demographic there, and obviously a lot of people went out to see Smurfs. Apparently it's not supposed to be that terrible, it's supposed to be actually alright, but rounding out the top 3 there, we have Smurfs Lost Village. And number 2 is Ghost in the Shell, and I'm actually really happy about this, because I personally really like Ghost in the Shell. If you'll see my film review, I put it up the other day, link in the description below. I actually really enjoyed Ghost in the Shell. I thought it was really good, and the fact that it's got that much at the box office, it's quite a big opening. Obviously it's not got number 1, but it's not done that well in the US, I don't think, but overseas, internationally, it's doing quite well actually, because it only got, I think, 19 million in its debut in the US, but it got almost like double that, like 40 million overseas. So it's got, as far as its opening weekend globally is concerned, it got like 60 million. So it didn't actually do that bad when you take the rest of the world into account there. And I'm glad Ghost in the Shell is doing pretty well there at number 2. But of course, at number 1, it's still, crushing it at the box office. We've got Beauty and the Beast there. And yeah, that's not surprising, because it's a big Disney movie and it's still doing really well. I'm pretty sure it's going to be number 1 for quite a while. So yeah, that's my quick rundown of the top 10 films in the UK box office. And now going on to movie news, and I picked out 5 items of movie news here, some of the biggest movie news stories that landed over the past week. not everything. There's a lot of movie news that dropped obviously over the past week. I just picked out a few pieces here. And first is that Beyonce is director Jon Favreau's top choice to voice Nala in the upcoming live-action remake of The Lion King. Again, it's not really a live-action remake because it's all like CGI animals, but yeah, this is very interesting. I didn't see this coming, but I'm not necessarily against this because we've seen before when big kind of singers and pop stars have been cast in movies and they've actually done a pretty good job. And also this is, for lack of a better term, it is animated, it is CGI, so it's just going to be her voice. And also there's going to be a lot of singing in this film, which I would imagine there is going to be, because obviously The Lion King, it's a musical, there's a lot of songs, and I'm pretty sure they're going to bring back a lot of those classic iconic songs, because obviously with something like The Jungle Book, there's only like a couple of really iconic ones, Bare Necessities and I Want to Be Like You. But Lion King is really known for its songs. It's a musical on the West End, so I'm pretty sure they're going to bring back a lot of the iconic songs. And if that's the case, it makes sense casting someone who's a great singer, like a world-class singer, like a big superstar kind of pop singer there, Beyonce, and I think she would do a good job. And obviously there's nothing concrete yet. I don't think this has actually been officially confirmed, but I wouldn't be upset if she was cast, because I think, she's been in movies before. I remember she was in those Pink Panther movies with Steve Martin, the less said about them the better. I didn't hate those movies, but they weren't very great. But, I don't think she's a bad actress. And obviously this is going to be more kind of a voice acting performance, and obviously a lot of singing required. So I think she would do a really good job. So I'm actually open to this. Normally I would be like, about like a singer being cast in a movie. But in this case, it's animated, it's CGI, it's going to be voice acting, singing. So I think she would do a really good job. What I do really hope is that I really hope Jeremy Irons is cast as Scar. I know they brought back James Earl Jones as Mufasa. They've just got to bring back Jeremy Irons. He's so great. He's got one of the best kind of evil villain voices. And the fact that they brought James Earl Jones back, I just really hope they bring back Jeremy Irons as well. So yeah, that's my quick kind of thoughts on the Lion King casting there. And next up we have that, obviously a spoiler warning here. I'm getting into some spoilers, so if you don't want to know some spoilers regarding Alien Covenant, then I would recommend skipping over to the next topic. But the Cinemacon footage that was revealed shows a shocking connection to Prometheus. And if I have a look at this here, apparently in the Alien Covenant footage that was shown at Cinemacon, there was a kind of big reveal which showed how it kind of connects to Prometheus. Because obviously this is kind of the follow-up to Prometheus, even though they're kind of making it more like kind of the classic, Aliens, it's still kind of carrying on and continuing on from where Prometheus left off. And obviously, if you've seen Prometheus, it ended with Elizabeth Shaw and David going off to kind of find the engineer's homeworld. So I would assume that in Covenant, that world that they're exploring is the engineer's homeworld. We see the crashed kind of engineer's ship there. And apparently, from what was shown at Cinemacon, in the scene, they are greeted by hundreds of engineers, and they watch on as David, who once again has a body, emerges from the ship and watches them all die before him as the ship unspools black bombs that cover the entire civilization in a black ooze that ends all their bodies. And this is, quite a big kind of reveal, because, as I said, I would assume that planet in Covenant is the engineer's homeworld, and apparently, from what this footage would indicate, the engineers all get wiped out. And it kind of makes sense, because that ship that they were in, and those ships in the kind of that were on the planet in Prometheus, they're essentially bombers. They had all that kind of black goo that wiped all the engineers out. They were kind of weaponizing it almost, and had the black goo and all those kind of in all those kind of vases, if you will, and they were loading it into those ships, and they were planning on actually going back to Earth and bombing the Earth, I would imagine, with those black ooze things and wiping out mankind. And from what this footage would indicate, that happens to the engineers in Covenant, which would kind of make sense, because in the trailer it's like really quiet, there's no one around, so I would imagine that the engineers have all been wiped out, and apparently this is how it happened. And there's also some other information here about kind of David taking over and looking to kind of use the aliens to kind of wipe out humanity or something. So I really hope this is the case, because I really want to see Michael Fassbender back in that role. He was really the best thing about Prometheus for me. I really like Prometheus, but Michael Fassbender as David, he really stole the show in that role. And to see him back here, because obviously he's coming back as Walter, another android, but to see him as Walter and David would be really cool. So I'm hoping he has quite a big role as David as well. Let's hope so, because I'd be really interested to see this kind of story continue from where it left off from Prometheus, and also to see what happened to Elizabeth Shaw as well. If David did take her out, or she died, or something happened to her, hopefully we'll find out and get the answers by the time Covenant rolls around in May. And next up is that Universal's Monsters universe. In this, Aquaman Scribe will be able to pen the creature from the Black Lagoon. I'm not overly interested in Creature of the Black Lagoon, to be honest with you, but I am looking forward to this kind of shared Monsters universe. It's getting a little kind of tiring and repetitive here, that kind of, everyone seems to be, every single franchise out there is trying to do that kind of Marvel-esque shared cinematic universe. Although, to be fair, I'm really liking these trailers for The Mummy. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing The Mummy starring Tom Cruise. It looks like it's going to be really good. I'm really hoping it is a really great start for their kind of cinematic universe, if you will, because they were planning on making Dracula Untold the first one, and I saw Dracula Untold, and I really wasn't a fan of that movie. It was a complete misfire, and it really didn't work for me. Even though I like Luke Evans in the role, and I kind of wish they would bring him back, but I think they're kind of brushing that aside and trying to just ignore that, because the original plan was for The Mummy to be the first, and then they were like, oh, maybe we could make Dracula Untold the first, and then they shoehorned in that kind of post-credit scene, or that scene at the end where he's in the modern day. But I think they're getting that happen now, and they're just going ahead with The Mummy being the first, and obviously they're going to be doing a lot of other monster movies now, like Frankenstein. Creature of the Black Lagoon, I'm not that interested in, to be honest with you. And Will Beall, I don't know, I didn't see Gangster Squad, but from what I'm aware, it wasn't a good movie, and I think that's the only real big movie he's actually written the script for. So I'm a little hesitant. He has actually written the script for Aquaman, and everything we know and seen from Aquaman looks good. I'm hoping Aquaman will be really great, because that will get my hopes up for this. As I said, I'm not overly interested in Creature of the Black Lagoon, but I'll be a lot more excited if Aquaman turns out to be really great, because obviously Will Beall penned the script for that. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see until Aquaman comes out. I'm hoping that will be really good, and then I'll be a lot more kind of positive regarding Will Beall writing this Creature from the Black Lagoon movie. And next up is that Spider-Man Homecoming producer indicates that multiple high school films are likely. And if we look at what was said here, apparently they're going to be spending a lot more time in these new movies in high school, which I really like that, because obviously it makes sense that Spider-Man, they would keep him in high school, because as much as I like the Raimi trilogy, he's like out of high school like the first 20 minutes of the first movie, so it's like, but I think in these new movies he's going to spend a lot more time in high school. And basically what was said here was, we really want to do multiple movies where he's in high school. Going forward, we would definitely treat future Spider-Man movies as all the same slate, so it would be strategic about where future Spider-Man movies fall in the MCU of all of it, as we would if Sony weren't involved, because there's nothing in it for us or Sony to put a movie out at the wrong time will start confusing the continuity. And also a little bit was said about villains and what villains they might bring back and what villains are going to try and not do again, because obviously we've seen Greg Gomblin a lot of times. I wouldn't mind them doing Dr. Octopus, but I just love the interpretation about Alfred Molina so much, I don't really want them to go back to that. But as far as the high school thing is concerned, I like that, because I remember a while back they said they wanted to treat it like a Harry Potter kind of thing, where each film is like a different year in school, if you will, and I think that makes sense, because obviously a big part of the character of Spider-Man is that he's a kid in high school and also trying to be a superhero at the same time. So it makes sense that they would keep the films in high school, especially considering they've got an actor like Tom Holland who's quite young. He looks quite young, he's playing a teenage Peter Parker, so it makes sense keeping him in school instead of just getting him out of school as quickly as possible, and then we suddenly got like adult Spider-Man. It makes sense keeping him in school, I think, and I think it'll be good to see a lot more of that, because as I said, the other films, they didn't really touch on that very much. So it'd be cool to see more of Spider-Man in high school and trying to balance his life as a kid in school with kind of saving the city as Spider-Man. So hopefully that's what they're going to do going ahead with these Spider-Man movies now, because I would like to see more of Spider-Man in high school. And next up, the last piece of movie news here is one of the most recent pieces of movie news that landed, and it's that Ghost in the Shell box office performance was hurt by a whitewashing controversy, admits Paramount executive. I was like, whoa, I was about to go ahead with starting this show, and this piece of news landed, I think, today. I was like, wow, I didn't expect something like that to drop, because a lot of people are saying that they think the box office was hurt by whitewashing, and I think it was to an extent, but I don't think the wide mainstream kind of mass audience was put off because of that, because obviously a lot of people aren't even aware of the original anime, and a lot of people just, aren't bothered at all. They're just like, oh, look, a new film with Scarlett Johansson. I think the reason why it didn't do very well was because it looks kind of weird and different, because Lucy, that was more of just a generic action movie, and a lot more people gravitated towards that, and I think that's why it did so much better, because obviously they're both starring Scarlett Johansson, and they thought just by putting Scarlett Johansson in there, it would immediately make loads of money at the box office, and it kind of didn't. And I think it's because the marketing campaign, even for me as someone who's interested in sci-fi, I was a little kind of, I could never really get into those early trailers. I was like, I don't really know what they're going for here. And I think a lot of people were put off because it just did look a bit weird, and they didn't really, it wasn't really a film that they were interested in checking out, regardless of who was cast in the lead. But I think it was hurt as well by the whitewashing, because a lot of the big die-hard fans of the anime probably were put off and probably didn't go to see it because they don't like the fact that it's been whitewashed, if you will. And it's very interesting, the actual Paramount executive has come out and admitted this. I really didn't expect that to happen, and basically what was said was, we had hopes of better results domestically. I think the conversation regarding casting impacted the reviews, so he's not, they're not really kind of said whitewashing specifically, but conversations regarding casting impacted the reviews. So he's basically kind of blaming people kind of dissing the film in reviews because of whitewashing. And like I said, I don't know if I think that was an element of why it didn't do as well, but I think, as I said, I think the majority of people probably didn't see this film because of the marketing and because it looked a bit weird and different and strange, and it wasn't really kind of a film that people were gravitating towards. I don't think that conversations regarding casting, and reviews impacted it that much. Because when I went to see it, the reviews were pretty good. It's not until long after I saw it that it dropped. But yeah, I can see where he's coming from, because obviously a lot of people, pretty much every reviewer, I think, has probably referenced the kind of whitewashing controversy, if you will. But I don't think that was a reason why it didn't do as well. I think there was an element of that. I think there probably were a lot of people that didn't go and see it because of that, but I don't think that's why it didn't do spectacularly at the box office. I think it's just more of, it wasn't really a film that appealed to a mass audience, if you will. But that was my take on it. And now going into new movie trailers, we've got a few big new movie trailers that dropped the past week. The first is that we've got a final trailer released for King Arthur, The Legend of the Sword. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing this. It doesn't look amazing, but I'm a big Guy Ritchie fan. I'm a big fan of the kind of King Arthur, Excalibur mythology, if you will. And I'm liking what I'm seeing from these trailers. They're not blowing me away, but it looks like it could be a really cool, kind of fun, action-packed fantasy romp, if you will, and we've got Guy Ritchie's style in there, so it's not going to be like just a generic, bland, boring action movie, because we've got Guy Ritchie there in the director's chair, and I love his kind of visual style that he implements. I love those Sherlock Holmes movies that he did. I thought they were really great. I'm really hoping for a third one in that series. I don't know if we're going to get a third one or not, but I don't know, I like Guy Ritchie's blockbuster movies that he's done, and I'm actually looking forward to this. I've got hopes that it's going to be good. It might turn out like The Great War. I don't know, it might not be that great, but I every new trailer that's coming out for this film, I'm getting more excited and more hopeful, because I think the trailers are good, and I am actually looking forward to seeing this. And next up is that we've got a second trailer released for The Mummy, and I alluded to this earlier, and I'm actually really excited for this, because I actually really liked that first trailer, but I wasn't kind of entirely sold on the film. But with this trailer, I am even more excited now, because I think this trailer was even better. It's got my hopes up that it's going to be a really good film. It could still turn out not that great. It might just turn out a bit of just a generic action movie, and they've got some little horror elements in there. I think they've found a nice balance. From what I've seen from this trailer, it looks like it's still going to be a horror movie, but in a kind of a modern, kind of more action-orientated context, if you will, because I wasn't a fan of those other Brendan Fraser movies. They were good at the time, and then I've since gone back and rewatched them and caught them on TV, and I'm like, oh my god, this isn't good. Like, what the hell? But what I'm really liking about this new Mummy reboot is that they're really setting it apart from those older Mummy movies by setting it in the present day, and really loving kind of the modern feel of it, because yes, it opens with a big and action-packed explosions in kind of the Middle East or whatever, but I don't think that's necessarily feeding into, this is going to be an action movie, that's just feeding into, we're setting it in a modern context here. This is a guy who's a soldier, he's in an operation, out in the field, and then he stumbles across this kind of tomb, if you will. So I'm liking the fact that they're setting it in a modern context, and it's going to be in more of a kind of a real world, if you will. And I love kind of the casting of Sofia Boutella as the mummy, and what I also really like is how they're kind of incorporating Tom Cruise's character in this, because I'm worried that he was going to take over. He's going to be this generic action hero guy in the lead, but what it seems like they're doing is they're tying him here into this kind of monsters universe by connecting him with the mummy almost. We're seeing that she's picked him as like a host almost, and like a host for like these monsters that are attracted to him, and it's really cool how they're kind of connecting him into the story, if you will. So she's like chosen him. We don't know if he's going to become like a male version of the mummy, or if he's like Van Helsing, or he's definitely going to be, I don't think he's just going to be a regular guy, because I think it's going to be, he's tied into this story and this larger kind of universe somehow. It'll just be really interesting to see now how he's connected to the mummy and how he's connected to these kind of monster movies, and also kind of Russell Crowe in there as well as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I'm really looking forward to that. So there's a chance it might not turn out good, but I really like this new trailer. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing this. And also we got a little teaser almost for the Defenders, and I didn't realise that Marvel's new Netflix series of Defenders is actually dropping this year. It's coming out August. I still have not yet seen Iron Fist, largely because it's got really bad reviews. I'm gonna see it at some point, and it's not just because it's got bad reviews so I'm not seeing it. I'm gonna check it out. It's just that if it had got amazing reviews and I was really excited and pumped and looking forward to seeing it, I would have just binged it straight away. But because it's not supposed to be that great, I'm kind of like, I'll wait. I'm not rushing to see this. I will watch it at some point though, because we're going to get the Defenders now, and I cannot wait to see the Defenders. I saw a fan trailer for it the other day showing kind of footage from all the heroes together, and I'm actually really looking forward to this. I can't believe we've finally got to the Defenders already. I mean, it's come around quite quickly actually, but to see all these characters from all their own separate Netflix shows come together in this show, it's going to be really cool, like the TV version of the Avengers, if you will. And yeah, obviously I haven't seen Iron Fist yet, but I liked to love all the other shows. I like Luke Cage, I really like Jessica Jones, I love Daredevil, so I cannot wait to see the Defenders coming August. I didn't realise it was coming out soon, so I cannot wait to see that. And finally, wrapping up here, I've got my kind of top 5 films currently playing in UK cinemas. At number 5, I've got Ghost in the Shell. As I've already said, I actually really enjoy Ghost in the Shell for what it was, and I thought it was a really good movie. What can I say? At number 4, we've got Beauty and the Beast. Again, I really like Beauty and the Beast. Coming in there at number 4. At number 3, I've got Free Fire. I absolutely love Free Fire. I thought it was really great. I really enjoyed it and had a really good time. Coming in at number 2, still holding on in there, is Logan. Obviously this didn't come out the past week, but as far as my kind of top 5 films that are currently still playing in cinemas, Logan has to be up there at number 2. And again, just like last week, coming in at number 1 is The Lost City of Z. But this week, for my film of the week, obviously last week my recommendation was The Lost City of Z. So this week I'm going to give it to one of the new releases, and my film of the week, my recommended choice for you to go out and see in cinemas is Free Fire, which is currently playing now in the UK. As far as the US is concerned, then I would probably say, I don't know, Logan, if you still haven't seen it yet, or The Lost City of Z. I'm not sure The Lost City of Z has dropped yet in the US, but actually Trainspotting 2 is out in the US now. So my film of the week and my recommendation for the UK will be Free Fire, and for the US, Trainspotting 2. And there we go, that wraps up another instalment of the Friday Film Show. What do you guys think of the kind of movie news and movie trailers that dropped past week? And again, if you've got any kind of movie related questions or topics you'd like to bring up, go ahead and ask in the comments down below, and if I get enough comments, I get enough questions, then maybe I'll address them in next week's episode. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up this instalment of the Friday Film Show. And also, if you missed last week's, be sure to go ahead and click over here to see last week's episode of the Friday Film Show. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you like this, then be sure to click subscribe to see more. But for now, I've been David O'Sullivan. I'll see you next time.